Today we're reading from Acts 7, verses 20 to 41. In which time Moses was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up, and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him, and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, ye are brethren, why do ye wrong one to another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge over us? Wilt thou kill me as thou didst the Egyptian yesterday? Then fled Moses at this saying, and he was a stranger in the land of Midian, where he begat 2 sons. And when 40 years were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Lord, in a flame of fire in a bush. When Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight, and as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him, saying, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Then Moses trembled, and durst not behold. Then said the Lord to him, Put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send thee into Egypt. This Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out. After that he showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years. This is that Moses which said to the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise unto you of your brethren. Like unto me, him shall ye hear. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers who received the lively oracles to give unto us, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt, saying unto Aaron, Make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And they made a calf in those days, and offered a sacrifice unto the idol, and rejoiced in the work of their own hands. Here in this second part of Stephen's sermon, he continues his history reminder to the Sanhedrin. Here he talks about how Moses was raised up in Pharaoh's family, and was in a perfect position to help the Israelites. Then he kills the Egyptian who was being an Israelite slave and is forced to flee into the land of Midian. He also highlights how the Israelites viewed him with suspicion after he killed the Egyptian, reminding the Sanhedrin that they had not always treated their now hallowed hero with trust and respect. Notice his words in verse 35. This Moses whom they refused, the same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer. He is showing them that not recognizing Jesus as the Messiah follows the pattern of their forefathers' lack of faith. Through this story, Moses trusts God, and eventually, 40 years later, God appears to him in the burning bush. Remember the cycle here? God makes a promise, in this case to deliver his people out of Egypt. He gives a command to Moses from the burning bush. Obedience, even though Moses was a bit hesitant at first. And lastly, God delivers on his promise. He reminds them of God's deliverance by mentioning the miracles God worked in bringing them out of Egypt, and then the 40 years in the wilderness, headed to the promised land. He then reminds them of the people's rejection of Moses on numerous occasions, wanting to return to Egypt, and of course turning to the gods they knew there, as demonstrated by the golden calf incident. We will see how Stephen ties this back to the charges against him in the final part of his sermon, but let's not miss the application of this section. Do we do the same thing the children of Israel did? Do we turn back to what seems comfortable instead of allowing God to do amazing, although sometimes uncomfortable things in our lives? Have you given him full control of your life? Or just a little leeway in certain areas? Let's not be like that. Let's give him every aspect of our lives today.